Hey, what's up, beautiful babies? Welcome to another episode of Get Close. I am your co-host, Gio.
And I'm Bart.
And today we have special guest, Mari. I'm so happy to have you here. You guys may know her from Smosh. She's a gamer. She's a dancer. She's an everything. You're like an everything. And right now you're like doing acting, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to school for acting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go into all of it. But the first thing, our first real connection right here is we're dry-ass Vegas people now.
Yeah. We gotta continuously put on the chapstick.
Yeah.
The humidifier is our best friend.
As I'm smiling at you right now, my teeth are dry, so then my lips are getting stuck. That's how fucking dry it is. And I'm like,
Perpetual smiling.
What helped you make the move? Because I feel like there's a ton of people that, you know, move entertainment, fitness, entrepreneurial, whatever, right, to LA. Yeah. And then I think for the last decade or so, or even more, that was kind of the hot spot. Mm-hmm. And then over the last 2 or 3 years, it's been like, shh. And then people are like kind of going other places.
What the hell was that? What was this?
Shaking things up.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm stupid.
The foundation has been shook.
Yeah. And then now people are leaving. And so it always feels like endearing and familiar when like LA peeps move somewhere else together. Not that we coordinated it.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're there too.
Another one. Yeah, it was. I mean, the pandemic did it. I think that the pandemic for so many people, including myself and my husband, like so many things came a lot clearer. Where it's like, oh, why are we still drinking this Kool-Aid of LA? Where it's just like, wait, how much do you pay for rent? Okay,
yeah, dude,
that's astronomical, but that's normal, right? Okay, that's fine. Okay, I do it too. And then it's like, okay, so we're in this city that the infrastructure of like driving around is an absolute hot mess, but you have to get to places within a certain amount of time. That's okay. Everyone's doing the same thing.
10 miles, 2 hours.
Yeah,
totally normal. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's just like what you think is normal got completely shuffled during the pandemic. This motion right there.
Yeah.
And so I think it became a lot clearer that, okay, maybe we don't have to be in the city in order to run our businesses, to continue doing what we're doing and be successful and all that stuff.
But weren't you scared?
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, like, I think, like, when you're so comfortable someplace, especially because you're from the Bay, right?
Yep.
Me and Gio, pretty much born and raised in LA.
Were you born and raised in Cali too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, San Francisco area.
Okay.
Yeah, like, my whole life, everyone has come to California to visit. Right? And I'm like, come on over, come hang out in the best state in the world. And then when you start going, wait, do I want to move? What the hell? What's going on? Mm-hmm. It feels scary.
Yeah.
Do you have family here or?
No, family here. But I do have friends out here that I used to film with and filmed with in the past.
Yeah.
And so we did our short film out here with these cinematographers who have a YouTube channel called Ismahawk. And so they're like serious directors, they're serious cinematographers. And they're out here. The stunt team that we worked with is out here. And so I'm like, okay, I have a little network, a small hub here of at least folks that I can start working with. And I wanted to work with them more, even when I was living in LA.
What
but
if they move back to LA? You just still stay out here?
They would never. Like, it's like filming in LA makes no sense now. Like the thought of like permitting wherever you go.
Yeah.
And it being so astronomically expensive to do anything in LA. Just like over here, I don't know if you felt the same way, but
what's
like
permitting out here? Because I think in LA,
there isn't any. Fuck. So like, have you felt like Vegas people? I feel like in general are like, don't put laws on us because like we'll operate in a lawful way as long as if you don't put rules on us. And so people will like do whatever they do in the desert as long as if it's lawful and they're not hurting people. But that like people just like, I don't know, like do whatever in the desert.
Yeah.
And then they're just not regulated.
That was my first taste of policing out here. I was driving and I think the crosswalk or something, it's painted a little bit either further, I think it's a little bit further away from where the cars are supposed to stop from what I'm used to in LA. Because I think the crosswalk is literally right there where the stoplight is.
Like the corner?
Yeah, this one's a little bit further away. So I'm used to getting up to the line. So I'll drive up to the line and then I look left and right and I'm like a car length in front of everyone else.
Have you noticed that that they
I
do that here?
haven't noticed that.
Okay, it's gonna stick out.
Maybe
to me.
I'm just a bad driver.
I have noticed though that people really follow school zones.
Yes.
And that to me, like people actually drive like 15 miles an hour. And I was like, whoa.
But so I pulled
dope.
up, I look over and there's a police officer and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's gonna light me up. And I'm like slowly rolling back because no one's behind me. And I'm looking at him and he just looks at me and he goes, kind of like, I know you messed up, it's cool. And I'm like, whoa, there's second chances over here. I'm so grateful. That will never happen again. Which I've happened a couple more times because I'm still getting used to the distance.
Yeah.
But it's just cool where I'm like, I don't feel like the police are out to get me. They're just here to make sure everyone's cool.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
It does feel like such a chill sort of like environment here. And just, I don't know what it is about LA. I don't know if it's just like the rat race and everyone feels like they're on some sort of hamster wheel, but it feels more chill here. Getting together with people feels more chill. I mean, COVID, restrictions otherwise, but I don't know.
Yeah, it feels
really
nice. I think there was that study that they did, right, where they had a bunch of rats in like kind of a confined area, and then after a while, like they started getting a little bit rampant, and then like I think they started developing sort of like disorders, right? Like where they started like fighting each other, and they started getting super aggressive because they just didn't have space anymore.
Yeah, they did this study because like rats exhibit a lot of social behaviors the way that humans do. So they kind of wanted to see like how rats would behave. What in the heezy?
I blame Bart.
I know, I'm so sorry. They
Popcorn's done.
they wanted to see like how rats would behave in different settings. So they have one where it's like, I don't know, like what they think is the recommended square foot per rat. And everyone's just doing their thing and they say hi with their like pulling their whiskers or whatever the hell they do, going
How cute.
like cute things that they're
When they
supposed
go,
to do. Right? And then
used to have rats.
there's food, someone brings it to the center, everyone's sharing it. Then they pack it. Once they pack it, over time, you have rats that are going in the corner, they're just rocking, like scratching, like very anxious rats. Then there's rats that see food and they grab it, they go hoard it, they bury it. And then it's just like almost like a like hoarding of resources. Very strange behavior that also is reminiscent of what like metropolitan cities look like, And it's just crazy to see like it's when there's that kind of congestion, it's not that humans aren't above it, which is pretty crazy.
No, I think it's probably an intrinsic quality that we've never shaken. And I don't think we ever will. That sort of like survival instinct and needing to.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the toilet paper debacle in 2020, right?
yeah.
Like
Ass wiping.
strange behaviors happen.
That is fucking funny. Yeah, okay, I don't mean to, because we tend to do this quite a bit. I don't mean to talk shit on California. I absolutely fucking love California. Born and raised in California. We all are, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of unfortunate that we had to leave, but I think it's
What
really...
I'm also talking about isn't just California, it's like big city.
Yes.
Like people in Chicago, New York, Detroit, I feel like there's like a very similar, like once people get jam-packed in like I think the population outgrows their infrastructure, it's almost feels like the pants are bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
You even feel it LAX versus Burbank airports.
True.
Like
Very
the
true.
anxiety of LAX and the
Yeah.
people working there, the day-to-day sort of feelings that they have impacted on them, like as workers, totally different in Burbank. Burbank's like, yeah, all right, yeah,
Whatever.
just, like, open up your bags. How's your day going? You're like,
know,
you're
you're like-
asking me how my day's going? How's
Yeah.
your day going?
Exactly. But I think that's something cool about a trait that people that are just pursuing something different or something successful or just wanting a better life, that are down to see something and say, okay, I love it, but it's not working for me. It's not conducive to the life that I want to, have in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So something needs to change. And I think that's really dope that you were one of those people as well, where you're like, okay, wait a minute. I see where I want my life to be, and I see that this is just not the vibe I want. So I'm just going to get up and go. And that was something that I saw from you from the very first time I met you. I don't know if you remember, but the very first time we met, that I can recall, is at JK News. And then you were talking about how you were working with Smosh at that time, but you were still living in NorCal. Like you were still living in San Francisco. But you
This
were
got to
working...
be like 2015 or something.
It was
not 2016.
forever ago.
Yeah, that's about right.
Wow.
And you were talking about how you would like fly back and forth. And you would
Every
spend...
week.
Yeah, and I was like, that fucking blew my mind. Like I had never met anyone that didn't see obstacles the way I had seen them. Like I just figured like, okay, if I need to make a living, the farthest I can imagine my little fucking rat brain going is maybe like 20, 30 miles away from where I reside, right? Because then I'm thinking all my other life inconveniences kind of like piling up on top of each other. So when I heard you say like, yeah, I'm just going to fly into LA, like what's the big deal? I was like mind blown, and I completely admired that about you, dude.
I mean, thank you. I appreciate it. I think that it's like, it's compacted with a lot of other things where I was not ready to completely walk away from my other life, which was the Bay Area life, which is ballet and my career that I had built up since I was like, you know, I mean, I started ballet when I was 2, not that I started my career when I was 2, but, you know, it was the only thing that I knew, and it was the only thing that felt like a sure deal, like a real thing. There's institutions like ballet companies that exist that will give me jobs was my mentality. So I'm like, well, I can't walk away from this for an internet job. And so it was my way of gripping white knuckled to that old life and dipping my toes into this new one that kept growing and growing, bigger and bigger, unexpectedly. So I did what the only way I know how to do it, which is to just have the show go on, which is do everything I can to make both things happen.
How did the concept of flying every single weekend not make you say no? Because that's tough. I think for a lot of people, they'll be like, fuck that, you know? That's great. That's local.
I mean, it is, but to a certain degree it is, because I think it is my quality of needing to please people. And that was at the root of it. And, you know, we're chatting a little bit before we started recording, but, you know, it is coming to terms with, well, why did I do that? Was it for me? And at the end of the day, it is for me because it built my career. But why did I do that as the first step rather than say, well, how can we work around it so that I'm not flying every single week for 2.5 years
So
straight?
why did you do it?
To appease my life and my lifestyle with ballet and the companies that I worked with, and then to appease this new lifestyle of the new company that I worked with. And so at that point it was, you know, making sure I don't lose my job at the ballet company and also not lose my job at Defy Media. And so it was like, how do I make everyone happy? It is lose sleep, be tired, still work my ass off and show up on time and be peachy. And it's like, I don't know if it's because I was wired that way young from ballet, of just like, do whatever you need to do to get the show going.
Yeah.
Or if it is just I was young and naive and it was easy too.
I mean, it could be all of that.
2.5 years is crazy, though.
Yeah. And we're talking, how old are you at that point? Like in your early 20s?
No, mid 20s.
That's fair.
Like 26, 27 around there.
Yeah, I feel like we got to give ourselves a little bit more grace, right? Because it's like you're going from becoming a teenager where it's like hormones are all wild, your body's changing, like you're not a baby, but you're not an adult. And now you're going into after that, like you graduate high school. Now you're more so an adult, but you're still an adolescent. You're still figuring your shit out. Like I feel like the 20s should be a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like...
Shit show meaning like your life's all over the place?
I mean, throw yourself at whatever it is you need to, regardless if it's pleasing yourself, pleasing other people. Like, I get it. Like, we were just kids. A lot of us were raised to, like, do what our parents tell us to do. Especially
like, say yes and figure it out later.
Yeah, especially if we're raised traditionally, right? And women, for some reason. I don't know how your family structure is, but, like, at least for Mexicans, it's like, when I was growing up, it always felt like I was a second-class citizen to the man, you know? So when, like... my mom was teaching me to be classy or not sit this way with like my crotch showing. It's like, oh, what are people going to think? You got to be a lady. You got to be classy. So you're really trying to like check off all these boxes from like your parents and then kind of follow what your friends are doing because their parents kind of told us the same thing, but then you think like they're successful. So I feel like our lives kind of tend to be a little bit all over the place in the 20s. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I mean,
You know?
I think for the first 18 years, you're in a confined space. If you're in a, you know, more or less traditional home situation, you have some sort of parental guidance. and probably a lot of walls around you, and so you're functioning as a human and you're learning things, but you're really out there from 18 plus, or maybe even 22 plus once you're out of college, and then you're out in the real world and you don't have these walls around you anymore, and you're trying to figure things out. Yeah, the timing for what I think humans should be doing with their lives, or what we should have figured out, is still within like the confines of like when people used to like die at the age of 50.
Yeah.
And it's like we're living a lot longer.
Yeah, we're having kids at what, 12, 13, 14? People are getting married around that time, like not even 50 years ago.
Yeah.
That's true. People were getting married like at 15, 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like we're still working off of that structure of like, oh yeah, you better have your things figured out at least by 20, because you should probably be popping out kids by 25. You're a mother by then, and by 30 you should probably have like 2 or 3 kids
And a house.
and a house. Oh, you gotta have a house. Yeah, you better have a house, and then you retire, and then you die. It's like that used to be.
That timeline's crazy. Yeah.
But we're not that anymore, and
Yeah.
so we kind of need to like learn to adjust that timeline.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. 20s, you should be a hot mess and figuring things out.
Yeah.
When you're bouncing back and forth, do you come from like a super traditional Asian type family where you have to explain to your parents what this internet thing is and why you have to fly every single weekend?
So I was in ballet, so I think that already kind of like broke the structure of what is traditional. But ballet in my family is like, that is equivalent to being a doctor. That is equivalent to being a lawyer. I'm a second generation dancer, and it's like it's my mom's entire being, which is ballet.
She's a dancer too.
Oh yeah. And she was my teacher and my coach.
Oh shit.
That must have been so fun.
It was like at times it was like 80% coach, 20% mom, and then sometimes it would flip the script, and I'm like, I don't know which one it is right now. I don't know if to call you coach or to call you mom, sort of thing. And so it was a lot of, now as an adult, like relearning what my childhood was and being okay with it, and like parsing out things where I'm like, okay, that's not okay, but I have to be okay with what it was. It's not okay, but it's okay.
Yeah.
What's something that's like that?
I think that understanding that the way that I will receive praise for what I do in work is not ever going to be what I expect or need from my parent. And it's because in my mom's mind, like if I found the same level of success in ballet that I have with non-ballet things, it would be the type of praise that I would want now. But I realize that in her mind, that's not what she can give me. And I think that being okay with that and understanding that that's not the expectation and I can't expect that has given me a lot of peace.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realize that, a parent in like the ideal way should give their kid praise for what the kid wants to do and how the kid wants to live their life. But I can also understand how difficult it is as a parent. I'm not a parent, so I don't know. Yeah. But especially raising kids at a time where we don't have open conversations like this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it had to have been so bonkers.
Did she ever make you do crazy shit like watch cartoons on your tippy toes or something?
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I like that. That's how you think ballet works. So I would never.
I'm thinking like Asian training of ballet, right? Like maybe you got to be like this on your fucking tippy toes, and you have to like, I don't know, like watch cartoons or twirl 3 times before you could eat food or something.
You want to hear it? Okay, I would put pillows on my feet and stick them underneath the couch so that there's like 4 inches of clearing in the couch. Yeah. To shape my feet to point. And then for the arches. And so that would be for feet training. And then at nighttime, I would raise my feet.
How long are you in there for? For like 2 episodes of Bobby's World or something?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, damn. 40 minutes. That's about right. Yeah. Which you like now with athlete training now, like big no. Like you shouldn't
Oh.
be stretching like that
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
I would put books on my knees and raise my legs so that my legs would be more hyperextended.
Whoa.
And like learn how to do that, or not learn, but make my body conform
Adapt,
to it. Just stretching all the time.
When you talk to your friends at that age about stuff like that, did it ever occur to you like this isn't normal? Like they're just playing in the front yard and I'm here with books on my knees?
I think I always knew it wasn't normal, but I also
Never fought back?
no. I don't think I knew how to be like I don't want to do that to my legs. You know what I mean? Like I had no proof or anything like that to be like, well, other kids do this, or like Google search like, well, what do other ballet dancers my age? How do they train at home? Is it all day after school? Oh, maybe it's not normal, and it's like it's just your world becomes what you know, and I think without the resources you just accept what it is. And that was all of us until a certain time in our age, right? Where it's like, oh, we have outside resources to be able to.
What's the right way to train your feet and knees then?
I think in a lot of ways ballet is still opposite of like so much of what should be normal for a body, but also I think it shows what is possible for a body.
Yeah.
Which I think is extraordinary.
It is. Fucking go like this and move like an inch at a time without the rest of your body jittering.
Yeah.
It just looks effortless. You're
It's
like,
nuts.
what the hell?
Yeah, I don't think people, if you're not, so I'm not even going to try to compare my ballet career to yours.
She was a professional.
Not even close. No. But I did ballet, and this sounds like someone that goes like, yeah, I played sports. I played in junior high, and as soon as they say junior high, you're like, oh, okay, you didn't really give a shit. But it's the equivalent of that.
And
So
you're
what I'm
talking
about
to someone
say,
in the NBA.
I'm very much aware of it. But I loved ballet growing up, and I did it for a few years. I got to the point where I was like doing toe shoes and stuff, but like I didn't have any of that training because it was more of like a neighborhood thing. Like moms just knew to put their kids in extracurricular activities, so boys went to sports and girls did some sort of dance. Whether
And you
that's
guys didn't
jazz.
have books at home, so there's nothing to. You don't have books at home, so you can't even put on the knees.
Is that a Mexican joke? You son of a bitch.
Nah. Or couches.
Always talking shit. But I was really passionate about it growing up, so I saw how extreme the training was, and like the diet is super rigid. Like they would say like, oh, I see some jiggly something there, like you need to cut it down to like maybe eating 4 peas and a fucking chicken breast.
Isn't it fucking wild
It is
how
wild.
that was normal and okay?
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's still
It's
kind
for
of like that
kids, too,
now.
right?
For
Like,
kids,
someone's
yeah.
like 8 or 9 are like, what are you eating? That's
Dude,
crazy.
they have
it's
like
the worst when you're a teenager, when your body's changing.
Yeah.
And like, I think for like teenage girls, you don't know what your body's gonna look like when it's in its like womanly form.
Yeah.
Because like before that, you can be a string bean, and then after hormones hit, you're like, oh, this is a different body.
yeah,
It's
you have
completely
curves
different.
and a
Yeah.
butt and boobs.
Which is so opposite of what ballet like constricts you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I had a student at 18. She was like, okay, I'm really gonna do ballet. This is gonna be the track that I go on. But she's Cuban, and like her body is not.
It's bomb.
Yeah, it is. And so like in that moment, she's like, all right, I'm gonna get breast reduction. I'm gonna do everything to like conform to it. And she didn't go with it. And now she's a supermodel now. Like she's like a model, It's like you just I think that it's so much of, do you listen to like what the box is and what it's always been and what you have to conform to, or do you say fuck it and like do you find your own way?
Yeah.
And I think right now is like a time where everyone's questioning it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the reason why you guys have a fucking room in your house, like, and you have a podcasting place here, and you're like, well, you could work the status quo and go to have a 9 to 5, or you can get off the wheel and do something that you want to do.
Yeah. At what point were you like, so it's like it was kind of ingrained and that's all you kind of knew, ballet, right? So at what point were you like, there's options?
I think, I mean, it wasn't immediate, because So the way I see it, with ballet, I feel like it was handed to me in the sense of like I was trained before I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. And your mom is your coach.
Yeah. And so by the time I was in, like ready to audition, ready to grab jobs, I had already had years of this training. And so in some ways I feel like I was handed this this silver spoon of training. With coming onto digital, my first step into anything digital was with Smosh. And in 2010, they had 10 million subscribers, which back then was like
it's
mind-blowing.
Fucking massive.
Like, they already had an empire.
Yeah.
So the very first thing that I did, and for subsequently for like 2 years after that, the one woman show that I made on Smosh would hit like close to 1 million every single time. And so that was my bar that I started with. I was, again, I feel like in so many ways handed this golden opportunity because I was already standing upon the empire that they built, and so I think that because the bar was already there, it wasn't this thing that felt like the grind that I feel like when you start it from scratch, it felt like more of like this responsibility of like having this torch now and being like, oh shit, I gotta carry this, and I better carry this like to uphold what they have already built. And so it felt like more of like a responsibility than this thing where like I scratched and clawed and toothed. I learned how to edit. I learned how to speak in front of a camera. Like I learned all these things from scratch, but I didn't do the work of earning every view and earning all those things in my mind. I had to turn an audience, and like it's weird because the first like I would say like 7 months worth of content that I put on Smosh all have like 13,000 dislikes, but the dislikes tab is gone.
Wow.
Like, but every week.
What are they so unhappy about?
That I was a girl on Smosh.
Yeah. And you were probably new. So usually if you're new and
I was
like,
the third person on Smosh, and so it was like Ian and Anthony, and then this rando girl who came on, and it's like I think every industry is similar in the sense of like when a woman is like comes onto the scene, people are like, well, why is she there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, who does she sleep with to get there?
Yeah.
Why is she deserving of this? And so it became a thing of like, well, whose girlfriend is she? Ian's or Anthony's?
Oh my God.
Or both. It was always the both where I'm like, oh yeah, both.
Yeah.
It sounds like a discussion of like 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, who did she fuck to get on the show?
But
I'm like, maybe she auditioned? I don't know.
It did check my own misogyny though, because I was that kid when Britney Spears was dating Justin Timberlake. I'm like, why Britney Spears though?
She's just the biggest pop star of that era.
Yeah, exactly, right? As if Justin was gonna knock on my door and be like, hey, you, Mari, want to be my girlfriend? Like, well, who the fuck am I to be like, why Britney though? What has she got? And so it made me reflect on the time where I felt so, I don't know, like possessive of somebody that I found, to be like enamoring or whatever it is, and being like, well, why this person? I'm like, you know what? I get it. I'm like, y'all cool off. And I'm like, I'm not stepping on your toes. They're not my boyfriends. I have my own boyfriend who's now my husband.
Hey.
And it's like
cute.
It's like I knew internally that wasn't the narrative, and so for me, I was able to sleep at night. But like, I don't know. It took a lot of years to go back to the question. It took a lot of years for me to jump ship, because it's not that I didn't believe in it, and the numbers clearly showed it. And very shortly after, I started making more than I would as a ballet dancer. I was literally a starving artist with ballet. And yet still I don't know. It's nothing that I aspired to, so I think it was a lot harder for me to jump ship and be like, this is the thing. But it did open the doors of like, oh, I can be other things. And that was really powerful, because I think looking back, it felt like I was on track for somebody else's agenda with ballet.
Yeah.
And I think with Smosh, I felt like I grabbed the torch of something that was already there, and I upheld it but in a lot of ways, both felt like they were handed to me. And so, I think with acting, it feels like now I'm really starting from the ground up and I'm making the choice.
Oh, cool.
And so it feels like a completely new venture. And I'm really
to your credit
happy.
though, I actually think everyone has a silver spoon. It just depends if they discover it or not. I think it's easier to draw the line where it's like, obviously my mom is my coach, so I have a wealth of knowledge. So at the same time where there's the benefits of that, there's also the hardest childhood for anybody. Like if your dad's Michael Jordan, or do you watch MMA? Mm-hmm. So like Khabib, imagine being the son of Khabib's dad, right? Like you also have the hardest childhood in the universe where practice doesn't stop now.
Yeah.
7 days
Fucking
of
wrestling bears, dude.
Yeah, 7 days worth of practice. Probably wake you up at 2 a.m. because you didn't do good enough yesterday. You got to do it again, So it's a double-edged sword. But I think to your credit, to be able to uphold and continuously still have millions of views, on the channel, or to not have crumbled under having a mom/coach, that shows some sort of strength, because I feel like for me, I think everyone is given a silver spoon. Like, for example, like I have a crazy ass mom, and and I think I'm lucky enough where I have my silver spoon, I think, is comedy, right? So I'm able to see situations and make light of them and make it enjoyable and tell a story where everyone can also be entertained and relate. Mm-hmm. But if I didn't discover that was my silver spoon, I think I would just hate my mom. And like after I die, and like let's say I go to whatever heaven, and I'm able to kind of see in retrospect, and I'm like, oh my God, there was 20 silver spoons in front of me. I just didn't grab a single one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do, because I think I think whether people get like, if they got beat up as a kid, some people go out and write a book. Or some people get beat up and they just stay down because they didn't see it as a silver spoon. They just saw it as like a metal club that kept whacking them over the head.
Yeah, I think that's why that whole like wake up and meditate and be grateful and write all that. I think there's a lot of validity to that, because we can really boil it down and get super basic and be like, well, what am I really grateful for? Like, what is the silver spoon that I have? And people can really like pull back the layers and be like, well, my silver spoon is that I can wake up every morning. And it could really be that simple. Or that I can get up and get out of my bed and literally walk. There's some people out there that can't do that. So it's like, we can focus on that, or we can just focus on like, oh shit, okay, this is, I try, and this is really fucking hard, but I try not to look at things as negative or positive. I just try to look at things for what they are and whatever lesson I can take from it. And that took a fucking long time, and I'm still working on that shit. But like looking at things as like, there is always a yin to a yang. There's always a positive to that negative. There's always the superpower, or like or things that we're good at, we're also going to be really bad at. You know what I mean? Like you can be a superly emotionally connected person and make people feel really good, but because you're so emotional, a lot of things could like bring you down really quickly. You know what I mean? So every positive has a negative. And I think, we're kind of raised also to be super humble. So you're saying, I was given the silver spoon, and cool, like it's cool that you're being humble that way, but like fuck all that, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like fuck all that, because it's like, okay, back in the day, nobody knew what the fuck YouTube was. Nobody knew what the fuck YouTube was going to become. And we're talking about what, 2007, 2000, maybe even 13. And that's when things were really picking up. But like for you, a female, to enter a gaming space and be like, oh, I can compete and audition for this fucking massive empire of a channel. Like, that's not a fucking silver spoon, dude. You had to have like a big dick and balls to like really do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know any chick in my circle around that time that was like, I'm gonna enter a dude space.
Or even dudes. I think many people would have crumbled. Like when I first started doing like sketch comedy with Joe, I was like auditioning too. I was like, because we don't know, like YouTube was such a small bubble, right? And I'm like, okay, I gotta play both. I was doing stand-up comedy. I was auditioning to trying to get into traditional Hollywood. We're also doing skits on the side. And I'm like, why doesn't Marvel just give me a chance, And then I see our buddy Simu, like he gets the chance, and I'm like, oh my God, like all the press conferences he has to go to, SNL, red carpets, he has to be bulletproof. You know, when they ask him a question, he has to turn on the charm, give very perfect quotable soundbite responses that people can take to fucking entertainment, variety, whatever. They write all those things. And I'm like, I would have died under that pressure. I might have been able to have been the actor in the film, but to do all that other stuff, I would have crumbled. And like, if you've seen 13,000 dislikes every week and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna keep flying down for 2.5 years, that's crazy.
That is crazy. I don't think that's a silver spoon, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I still have a hard time like being like,
I did good.
Yeah.
It's girl, and you're fucking like, you're a minority. You know what I mean? Like that on top of you being a female. So you're like a double fucking minority. You're entering a very white space as an Asian and as a chick. Like that shit's not easy.
You know what the fucked up part is though? I feel like all of us minorities were conditioned to think that that's normal, that you're the token. It's like, because like in anything that we saw in media and stuff, it's like, okay, well there's one and then that's all you ever expect. You don't expect to be, 3 Asians on the Power Rangers.
Right. There's like, you can only have one on
You
there.
can only have one. Otherwise it becomes an Asian show. You can only have one black person. Otherwise it becomes a black show.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's so funny.
it's so ridiculous, but we were conditioned to think that that's normal. Even being a woman and seeing a bunch of men around me, I've been conditioned to know that that's normal, and that's really fucked up.
Because you see another chick, you're like, what is this, a chick show now?
Can't have two. And so it's like when I entered the space, I honestly didn't even think about it. I didn't even think in the range of like, I am gonna make my space here. It became that thing because I'm like, whoa, you guys aren't kidding. There's no one else here. So I can carve out my little corner and carve out a niche. But when I went into it, I think ballet is the complete opposite, where it's a sea of women and the men are treated as like, oh, we got one. What, how much do you want? How much do we pay you?
Wow.
Do you want double what the women get? You'll get it.
Wow.
And that was the normal culture. And so when I went into gaming, I was like, I just don't want. Okay, well, I want double what the guys get because there's not a lot of me.
That's amazing.
And so it wasn't a thing where it was me making a statement. It was just reversing what I always knew, where it was just like, well, you take the commodity and you give them more because there's not a lot of them.
That's my stupid ass would have been like, thank you for giving me the chance. I'll take nothing.
I'll take half.
Yeah, it's okay. Just thank you for letting me sit here. That's dope.
Yeah. I mean, it came out of the deficit of the other way, right? Where it's just like, I lost jobs. By the end of my ballet career, I lost jobs because I demanded the same pay as my male counterparts. And so when you take on jobs as an independent contractor, you can come with a partner. And so my partner would get paid a certain amount, and I would be like, hey, is it okay if I ask for the same? We might lose this job. And my partner, Jenkins, was awesome, very established in the space, and he's like, yeah, ask for it.
Oh, cool.
And so he was really supportive, and so it became a thing where it's just like, yep, this is our rate. And I lost out on some business, but for the most part it was like, okay,
That's fucking
just had to ask.
rad.
Yeah,
Thank you for being a fucking strong female for that shit. I love it.
thanks.
I love it.
Thanks. I mean, it is. A lot of it is throwing spaghetti at the wall and being like, "Oh shit, it's stuck." And like,
sure.
I think like in the beginning of this space of like YouTube space and stuff like that, I think a lot of it was that, especially when you start to talk with brands and stuff, and you're like, "Oh, you're talking to me? What do you want?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, what do you want?" And you're like, "I want."
You give a
this?"
ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay." We're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happening. So it was an exciting time back then of like figuring it out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so kind of shifting a little bit. So Ballet, Smosh, and then at some point, I don't know the details of this, so I can't wait to hear it. You're like, I'll be on a reality channel. And then you got on fucking Survivor.
Oh yeah, Survivor.
That's amazing.
What's the
What the fuck?
Yeah, what's the like process of getting on that kind of show?
So
And what made you want to go on a show like that?
I got recruited to be on the show.
Sick.
The casting director worked with 2 other people at Defy at the time, and put them on Amazing Race. And so they were still friends with them. I would have loved to be on Amazing Race, honestly.
Even Survivor was rad.
Survivor was rad. And my 2 friends came to me and they're like, hey, would you consider Survivor? And at the point, I was at a breaking point. I kept writing in my journal, I just want to log off. Like I don't know if I want to quit digital. I don't know if I want to quit YouTube. I just want a break. I just want to stop for a moment.
Why did you want a break?
I think I was really, really like just tired of like numbers and algorithms and just hearing it every single day. And I don't know, I just wanted to kind of like put a pause on things. I think it was 2017. And it's weird because now that I look back at it, it was like the height of a lot of things. We're doing great things at Smosh Games. But I think it was 8 years in at that point, or like 7 years into being in digital. And before I was in digital, like I was very outdoorsy. Like I would climb like 20,000 foot peaks and stuff like that.
Which one?
First one I did was Kilimanjaro, which is kind of a hike. There's nothing crazy about that one. But I did 2 months in South America, and I did a bunch of mountains in Bolivia.
Wow.
And and so that had like ice climbing and stuff like that. And
amazing.
I would just be able to like, I don't know, be off the grid. And in that year, I think it was 2017, I was like, I just want to be off the grid. I just want to leave. I just want to just log off for a bit. And then this opportunity came. They're like, hey, do you want to do Survivor? I'm like, how long do I have to be offline for? They're like 7 weeks. And I was like, I'm in. How do I audition? And so I auditioned for it. It was a Millennials versus Gen X season, and so it was all about like, okay, millennials, you don't know how to talk to people. What's that
fuck
like?
Off.
You're like, Mara, you're the life of a gamer. All you do is talk to people over a headset and live a life inside of a digital realm. How are you going to survive talking to real people on an island? I'm like, I don't think I'm like, I get the box you want to put me in.
Yeah, they're just trying to make a show.
Yeah. And I'm like, I understand the archetypes, but honestly, I was really geeking out on the production process of it because of so many elements of it are exactly what you said, trying to make a show, right? And so finding the right characters and finding the right personality types to make, oil and water, right? And just finding as many opposite characters as possible to make people absolutely blow up, and you just see it in front of you.
Do they direct it? Do they go like, hey, that guy has a peanut allergy, sprinkle some peanuts on his ice cream?
No, they definitely don't do that, but they do observe. And so it's like before the show they take extensive personality quizzes. And personality, like, I can't even call it a quiz. It's not a BuzzFeed quiz,
it's like a survey almost, huh?
Yeah, it's like a psychoanalysis with a psychiatrist, and so they know all of your triggers. And so let's say my trigger is people who don't cooperate, like in a group project, right? And I've ranted to the psychologist about like, oh, I just don't like it when people don't play their part or whatever. And if there was a moment where somebody was sitting for a long time, like on the island, at the end of the day, they'd be like, how do you feel about so-and-so? They didn't really pull their part, pull their weight today. How do you feel about that? Ooh. So they know exactly what to ask to get reactions out of you. And so in some ways, I wish I didn't know that, because it was so obvious and black and white to me that was the deal. And so I'm like, well, if I didn't know that, maybe I would have more fun. But I was just kind of geeking out on like, oh, like they would ask me a question and be like, oh, I know why they asked me that question.
Oh.
Do you think it's because you came from the digital realm where like we see A to Z, we're almost involved in A to Z, so we're not just like talent, so to speak. So you kind of already know why things are being done?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I see.
And then seeing like the camera guys and stuff was really cool because when they're on their off season from Survivor, they're doing documentaries and stuff like that, and they're like documenting wildlife, or they're in like war-torn countries and things like that. So they come from like real documentarian backgrounds. So they were workhorses. They were sprinting for hours on sand with huge
Shit.
cameras. You know, like they would take a tumble backwards, somersault with their camera, and still have it locked on a shot. Like I was just like, "Whoa, those guys are dope." Yeah, it was really neat to see.
Mari, pay attention.
Yeah.
She's about to eat a bug. I need to interview you right after this.
Yeah, I don't think I was a very good subject for the show. I really, really don't. I don't think I was a good subject for the show. I don't think that I would give the reactions that they would want because I know too much of like what a reaction looks like on television or like on a screen. And so I don't think that I would be good television in that sense. I'm just too meta when it comes to that. But I had 7 weeks off and it was wonderful.
That's sick.
What was the craziest thing you had to do?
I didn't have to do too many. I wasn't on the island for very long. So what happens is as soon as you're kicked off of the show, then they keep you quarantined until the whole show is filmed so that there are no spoilers. If I went home, then people around me would know that I went home early.
So you're like stuck in a hotel or something, or?
Yeah. Australia for like 5 weeks.
Amazing.
On their dime. So
But no phone?
no phone, no email.
Amazing.
'Cause you can't release anything.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I feel the worst part about it is knowing that Peter, my husband, was back at home with this like thought that I was starving
make
on
it.
an island and that I'm cold, and like he knew that there was a tropical storm. We were the first people on an island who had to get evacuated because the tropical storm was so bad.
Wow.
And it was like a Cat 5 or something like that. It was ridiculous. The lightning was like less than a mile away by the time that we were pulled off.
Wow.
So that was the hardest, sitting through a storm. And I think I've been colder, but I've never been that cold for that period of time. I think we were sitting in rain, like in puddles, for like 12 hours.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And our shelter was a piece of shit, and that got ruined that night.
Was it a shelter that you guys had to build?
Yeah, we built it. It was a piece of shit. It was terrible. It's amazing that no one got like literally like skewered by the bamboo sticks, because we built it like it was like a fucking like bamboo lodge. Like this is the most millennial thing, right? Like to make it look like this 10-person hut that we could all sleep in it together. So we laid across these bamboo like crisscross.
Do you guys have experience? Did someone like know what they're doing, or everyone just kind of brainstormed on like, I think this is what we need to do?
No one had real experience. I think all of us had a YouTube education and watched a few of those like you know those builder shows where there's like people who go into like nature and they build a cabin or whatever. We all had that education.
I see.
Which is not a real education at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the night of that storm, we were all packed in there. Not all of us. A lot of us were packed in there, but not all of us. I know I wasn't in there. And the whole thing broke, and there was just shards of bamboo just sticking out like freaking skewers.
Yeah.
No one got hurt, thankfully, but that kicked us all out of our shelter, and so we were just sitting outside. And like at one point, I know I became hysterical. Like I would just look up at the sky and I'd be just laughing because it seemed fake. It was like somebody had a weather machine and was just pushing random ass buttons is what it felt like, because I was like, there's no fucking way that we were out here and there's lightning that you can see and hear at the same time, which is really bad. There was no delay. And I'm like, this
Are the producers off to the side going, yes, juicy parts.
You know what's weird? They don't talk to you. They sit there and even at nighttime they have one red light, and they sit in a chair like this, and your tent, or not your tent, your like shelter, wherever you sleep, is like right around you, and they just watch for moments. And there's a camera on sticks that just sits there, and they just stand there. And like you try to make chit chat. Like I was like I don't know, like an asshole, and I try to gym helper it all the time and be like, You know, I'd be like,
That's tight. That's
they
tight.
give you nothing.
Oh,
Not
shit.
not even a smirk. I'm sure by like day 49 they'll give you a smirk, but on like the first couple of weeks they give you nothing. I'm just like,
They're like, stop, monkey.
yeah,
We're just watching you.
Suffer. I want the suffer face on.
yeah, not this clown shit. They're like, we've had 33 seasons of this. We don't want to see this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was that an entrance, or was that like a taste of you going, oh shit? Obviously it's not acting because it's like real life, especially you saying like no one had any like intervention or anything. Was that like a little bug for you where you're like, oh shit, I like this feeling?
No, I didn't see it any different as what we were already creating at Smosh. To be honest, it was real life sort of like it was just reality. It was just what you do in real life, and you know how you go through things when things are thrown at you. And I think with Smosh, like, we would do such off the wall batshit crazy stuff. We would do obstacles and things like that. We would dunk ourselves in water, and we would eat ridiculous things that a lot of it didn't surprise me. I was just like, oh, this is just this when you throw a lot of money at it. And I'm like, it didn't seem as big of a thing as it would if I didn't come from like a production background.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it made me not want to do reality television again, because I'm just like, oh, I see it for what it is, and it doesn't add anything for me. It doesn't give me anything. I know I'm not wired in a way where I get so excited when I see a camera that I'll do off the wall shit just to do it. I'll do it if it's part of the production. I'll do it knowing that there is a storyline and an end goal, but I won't do it just to do it. And I think for reality TV, that's what they want.
Yeah.
They just want people to just be uncalculated and just operate as humanly as possible. And I'm like, I calculate too much for them to make good quality television out of it.
I see.
Yeah. So where did that come about then?
That calculation?
The urge to go, oh, I'm going to pursue acting.
Oh, God. It's still such a scary thing. Because I feel like acting, in my mind, in my world, it is the same thing as like, I want to go to space. I want to be an astronaut. You know, it's like the thing when I see my kid self saying it and being like, oh, that's cool. That's cute. You know, you go do whatever you want. Not
What's
a
the parallel
real life.
to space and acting?
Yeah.
The fact that it just seems like such a huge jump from what can be realistic in my world. Like, I think that it's such a huge pipe dream that it was always really scary for me to even put it out there. And so even though I had aspirations to be an actor, and at the core of it, it's just to be an artist. And I think that goes back to ballet, and that's what I really was at the core of it. But acting, you know, because acting comes with the whole outer layer of celebrity and fame and all that
the
stuff.
whole package.
Yeah, like
see.
I made it into this really, really big thing in my mind of like, I'll never be able to attain it. But now that I'm in school and I've kind of stripped away all of that other stuff and see it for the art that it is, I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. And I want to put the time and the energy and the effort into it and work from it, like from the ground up for it. But it's still like scary to say, like, I want to be an actor. I still feel eyeballs go like, oh, you want to be an actor. You know, like I feel the judgment,
like
because
everyone's
it
a
comes,
casting director around you.
or something of like, oh, why are you able to, or why do you feel like you can, you know? And that's my own judgment, like turning back on me and just kind of ripping myself apart. But now I feel like I'm armored with understanding that better.
When did you decide that you wanted to be an actor, and like how much of school have you done for it?
I think the pandemic is really when I made the decision. I'd been telling Peter like for years, I'm like, okay, I really, if I'm gonna act, I want to do it in the way that makes sense for me. And that's for me, I'm just like, it's the lab coat effect for me. It's like, I feel like I need to have like earned it and earned the stripes for me to be like, I am this thing.
It's like the ballet approach, probably.
It's the ballet approach.
What is the acting version of putting books on my knees?
Yes.
I need to go do those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, that's what makes sense for me. And it's
Yeah.
like, I felt like a fraud in gaming until I hit my 10-year mark. And I'm like, okay, now I can say like, I think I've got authority in gaming.
I see.
You know, up until then, I feel like I'm like, well, you know, I'm in this space and I'm trying to figure it out and I'm trying to do the thing. But it took 10 years for me to be like, you know what? I think we made some impacts in some places. I think I know what I'm talking about, you know? And there were patches of me feeling that way, but like for me to just go like, you know what? I'm proud of me for doing that. It took 10 years.
Wow.
And so I don't know, maybe it's just a 10-year journey for me for all these things.
How long have you started this whole acting training process?
So there's a conservatory program.
That always sounds crazy.
It does.
Conservatory.
Yeah, you have to say it with a British accent,
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah.
it's not real.
Yeah.
I'm in my 5th semester for the conservatory.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and so
That sounds crazy too.
So
I've done it 5 times.
a year and some change is where I'm at.
Is it out here? Over there?
It's in LA, but because of the pandemic, it's been on Zoom.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
But-
and you're going back to LA? Like you're still
I
flying
am
back
though.
and forth?
I am going to be going
shit.
back and forth as soon as COVID restrictions are better. We were supposed to be in school this week, but Omicron is so bad right now
shit.
that they had to cancel. But I
Are you
think
doing scenes over Zoom?
up until this time we had been. Yeah.
Whoa.
What is that like?
That's crazy.
I bet that's weird.
You know, it is very weird. You don't get the same, like it's the same way as if we were doing this interview over Zoom.
It would suck ass.
Like,
Yeah. And then you
you know,
freeze, you're just like,
it's like,
hello, are you there?
yeah.
You there? Hello.
And then in some ways, like you like we would stop talking, we'd say thank you, goodbye, and then in some ways we'd be like, yeah, that was good. Like that was, you know, we had a great talk and we'd probably have the same conversations, but it is so different.
It sucks.
Just feeling another person in
Yeah.
the room, you know, and just having real life eye contact as opposed to me looking at a screen this way and you looking at me looking at you.
Yeah.
You know, it's
'Cause
like,
it's probably like this.
yeah. And it's like, I know you're looking at me here, but you're not looking at me, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, I can't imagine how difficult that is to process for like kids going through school right now, where it's just,
Yeah.
you see the eyeballs back at you, but they're not looking at you. They're looking at a screen
A screen version of you.
yeah, a screen version of you. And so, you know, I think there's elements of understanding that,
That's so hard.
but it makes you listen more.
Yeah, because even like practicing lines or doing lines with like a casting director, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh no, save me, save me. And you're like, fuck, that's all I get. Like,
Yeah.
how do I react to that? You know?
You got to make something
And
out
they're
of
like,
nothing.
all right, thanks. We'll call you. You're like, fuck. You weren't convincing as a drowning victim.
I've never been to anything like that. Like I don't want to pursue acting or any of that, but like I feel like I got some sort of insight watching what's that? Oh god, what's
La
that?
La Land.
La La Land.
Yeah.
Have you watched
I
it?
haven't watched La La
You have
Land.
not?
Oh my
No.
god, it's so fucking good for
yeah,
so
you
many
should-
reasons.
Yeah, you should really watch it. Well, okay, so there's a scene in there where the main character, she wants to become an actress. She wants to become a famous actress. So you see her prepping for her audition. So she has to wear, you know, the waitress outfit because that's the role she wants to get. And then she goes into the waiting room and literally everyone looks exactly like her. And then she's in front of the casting director. She's doing her scene and she like starts bawling and you can feel her acting and she's so good. And then within like seconds, they're like, okay, thank you. And she's like, oh. Like she has to like pull herself out of like this really deep place she like just put herself in to be convincing, and they have to kick her out. And
Yeah,
she's
she
like,
has this scene where like I think maybe a family member died or something, and she found out over the phone. So she's crying, and then literally like a production assistant is coming taking lunch orders. And, oh yeah, I'll have the salami. And she's fucking like, oh fuck, what the fuck? You know?
That's
And they're like,
nuts.
oh, yeah, I'll take the salami. All right, and I'll talk to you later. And then it's like, what the fuck? It's so crazy.
I think that's what I like about the school that I'm in, which is
Yeah.
the method school, where it's like they really emphasize that it should be like a muscle, like you're training for the gym. like you're training for whatever it is, like your morning exercise or whatever it is, where it's just like you go to that place, but you don't stay there. It should be a thing where it's like, if
How
they're
do you
like,
do that?
if they're like, okay, thank you. And you're like, phew. Right? It's the same way where it's like, I mean, I don't know anything about powerlifting, but it's like you power lift, you do the thing, and then you walk away. You did the thing. And so that you can get to that emotional place, but not sit in it and wallow in it.
I like that. Thank you. You put that into perspective. Because yeah, definitely when you gear up to like hit a personal record.
I'm going to kill someone.
Yeah, you have to.
Cool, I don't need to kill anybody.
Yeah, like I have to get in that space, you know, like I'm shaking the fucking bar, like I'm making sure it even hurts a little bit because I want that aggression. And then once I rack it, I'm like, oh man, that was really good. And I'm like over it. Like I'm not trying to fight people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I get that.
that's what they try to
How do you teach that though?
practice. And that's the thing where it comes
That's what you're doing
comes
5
down
semesters.
to like, yeah, where it's just like you practice and you practice so that it becomes that thing. And it's like you find the triggers. Like I have this notebook of like triggers, right, where it's just like a certain material will make me feel a certain way, make me remember a certain thing. And it's not always sad. It can be euphoric and happy and things like that.
Do you do that
But
before
it's-
scenes? You're like, oh, I need my
She has, like,
my rabbit's
swatches?
tail. I need my rabbit's tail. This for this one.
Yeah, yeah. Or if you don't have it on hand, then you remember the feeling of it so much that it can take you there. But it's if you think about it, like everything that we say and everything that we do, there's always an intention behind it. You know, it's like the way I'm talking right now, there's probably an intention of why my cadence is here as opposed to up here right now. You know, it's like there's always a reason why we do stuff. And when you rip apart a script, then you realize like the humanity of all the lines that you're reading, because that's a human person going through all these layers of feelings, and that's why they're saying this. There's a reason why they say this. It's not just pulling random words out of their asses. And so I don't know, for me, I think it's helped me kind of step back and realize just like the beauty of like being human and all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Sick. That's great. Have you looked for any places out here, or do they all just suck?
Your faces.
I haven't, just because I am fully drinking the Kool-Aid of my school right now. And it's like, they
Are they the best of the best?
they are, for the method,
It's a
yes.
conservatory. What do you
Yeah, it's
think
the
you-
A lot of them they call
It's
themselves
an
conservatory.
institute of theater and film.
Where's the skull? Where's the skull?
On Fairfax and Melrose.
I kind of, honestly, I love it for that quality of it
So
being
pretentious.
a little
Yeah,
pretentious.
yeah.
There's a few reasons why I went with it from like a technical version of like it's a .edu, so it's an accredited like institute, as opposed to it being a .com. And for me, that was important, where I'm just like, well, they're not just like doing it to like shill cash. But you do receive some sort of like accredited education.
And you get the Asian parent approval.
Yeah, I mean, I'm past trying to receive it,
I see.
because I don't think it's going to be the one that I want.
What if you...
She lands a role as a ballerina.
A
She's like,
successful ballet
The Black
movie.
Swan.
You think your mom would be like...
Two.
Dude, you know
She
what?
made it.
This is the most ridiculous part. With like, I think they are proud for what makes sense to them. So when my husband and I invested into Space Station Gaming, which is an esports company, is a big deal, especially like in the gaming realm. Like me coming from an influencer in gaming and somebody who just plays video games to being a co-owner of an
Congrats,
esports
by the way.
team. Thank you. That was a big thing. And I told my parents, and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." All this press came out. They're like, "Cool. That's whatever." And then it came out in Japanese,
There it is.
and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it was on Yahoo Japan. This is a big deal." And I'm like, "Yep." I'm glad that now it's in a way that you understand it. And it's like I'll do things that to me in my world are a big deal, but like something like being on a Twitch billboard in Times Square that I got $0 for, they're like, "Oh my god." I'm like, because to them that's success.
Yeah.
That's B-roll, mom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, it's up there, but it's like, it didn't, I don't know if that moves the ticker forward.
Yeah.
It does 0 for my bank account in the immediate, immediate, like,
In that space.
short term.
Yeah.
Long term, maybe, because someone else will see it and be like, well, she's been on billboards or whatever. But
Yeah.
I've never been on a
knows?
fucking billboard.
Me
Can someone
neither.
put me on a billboard, please? It's not all it's all cracked up to be.
You walk out and you're like, holy shit. And then after 30 seconds, you're like, there's a lot of other billboards,
That's the person that's been on a fucking billboard.
I've never been on a billboard.
Not yet, guys.
No, I'm kidding. I think it's super rad. So what is the dream right now with acting? Because it seems like that's like the thing here.
Yeah. I don't have a set like dream. Like I wish it could be like, I want to be in a Marvel movie. I don't necessarily.
You just like the art form of it so far?
Yeah. I want to be my dream is to be in a substantially like well-written piece of film.
Okay, who's the director or who's the writer here?
Oof, geez. I'd love to do an Aaron Sorkin. I actually don't know who wrote. Oh,
You like some serious shit, huh?
I do like serious shit. And I think that's like the dichotomy of like being like a clown like on the internet.
And eating fucking weird shit.
Yeah.
And, like, going into slime.
Yeah, because like that is one part of me. Like that is absolutely still a part of me, and an animated portion of me is still me. And then there's this other part where is like it is the pretentious bunhead artist, like who cares about certain things done a certain way and like being technically proficient and things like that. And that is another part of me. And I'm like, I've always had a very hard time matching the two. But I think I just need to like understand that it's two parts of me. I'm still a clown, but I still really want to dig deep into, I don't know,
That's fair.
all the
awesome.
icky shit.
That's fair as fuck. I think we all have multiple personalities, but I think that, as of recent, was always kind of kooky. To say that you can be aggressive, to say that you can be super nurturing, to say that you can be a fucking boss-ass person, to be a clown, to be a baby. Like, we possess all of that.
Yeah.
But I think as of recent, people are finally like accepting and seeing it. So I think what you're feeling is absolutely the human experience.
Is there a trajectory of someone that's an actor, actress, or whatever that you're like, that'd be cool to like have something similar to that?
That's a really good question. I think I don't know. I still get really hung up on like the trajectory from going digital to traditional, because I still think that there was like this hard drawn line of like, at what point do we start blurring it? And in a lot of ways, sometimes we do, but I don't know if Hollywood's really ready
Yeah, I don't
for
think we're there
it.
yet.
I don't think so.
And
Yeah,
it's like,
we're not there yet.
I haven't seen one hit here that has been a hit here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen more hits here and go, wee!
Yeah.
Like over here.
We've seen a lot of our colleagues have shows and specials and movies and
Yeah.
they've written, and we're like,
And also, a lot of people aren't doing the work you're doing too. 5 semesters, Like one of my comedy teachers, he was one of the main writers on Key and Peele, even on Mad TV. And he helped write Get Out. And he's going into the movie space. And I thought it would be like Silver Spoon. And he goes, no. He goes, in terms of someone needing to write a special for the Super Bowl or for the Grammys or someone needing a monologue for SNL, they'll call me like that because they know I can crush 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever, right? But he's like, when you go into the movies, he's like, even I have a crossover problem. So he's like, it's not just a like new media into Hollywood. It's just everything that isn't that craft is going to have a crossover problem. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I never thought of it like that.
I think there's very few people who've done it. And the people who have done it did it early. Like Donald Glover is a good example.
oh, right. I forgot about
He's
that.
also one of those guys, I think, that has been training. And he's like a trained individual. Like Batch is one of those guys too.
Yeah.
He has like a master's in theater and film. And
Yeah,
so,
he came in the YouTube space already.
yeah,
very.
so there's people that have already been training and they're just shooting their shot in different platforms.
Throwing the spaghetti, as Mari calls it.
Yeah, so those guys, I think Jimmy Tatro is one of those guys.
Yeah.
So I think it's easier for those, but like for someone that's like up here that hasn't had that specific training, we haven't seen one just yet.
Yeah, it's really hard. It in a lot of ways it feels like, you know, like when you start like wanting to change something about yourself, but like your friend group, like if I started wearing, I don't know, like hot pink everywhere,
Yeah.
and then all my friend groups would be like, what's up with that, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's this new thing you're doing?
That's not who I know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a new thing, just let it be. And they're like, nah, no, you don't wear that. but then if you go into a new friend group and they're like, oh, that's Mari, she wears pink all the
She
time.
loves pink. Looks great on her.
And that's, you get a fresh like slate. We don't get to do that as digital creators because we
Yeah.
have like a track record
Yeah.
that people can pull up and be like, nah, you're this person.
You're branded
You're
already.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for most people, I will always be wacky Smosh Games Mari for like the rest of time, no matter what I do. And I don't think that's bad. I think that it's more so of like the people who hire me, how they see me.
Yeah.
Because how an audience member sees me is like, they get to keep that. I don't get to dictate to them how they should see me.
Yeah.
But I think for the people who hire me, I think it's important that they see other sides.
Yeah.
And right now I'm racking my brain. I'm like, how do I do that?
Yeah. Well, good thing, right? Like you said, you're calculated. So I think calculating where it is you want to head and who you want to be and who you want to portray in terms of characters and all of that, I think you're already well off to a good start, right? Because you're just saying like, I'm already naturally calculated. So I think it's a matter of like picking those roles or those scenes or movies or whatever where you're like, wait, I'm not going to do the wacky comedy stuff because that's not where I'm trying to go.
Or start posting Aaron Sorkin scenes.
Right.
Little 60 seconds.
That's what happened to Ali Maki, right? I think that's how she got discovered for Toy Story, like being a voice actor
Really?
for that.
Oh, really?
Am I making that up?
I think, no, she was established before.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
she
been
was-
acting.
yeah, she's been acting
for
a
like
while.
10, 15 years.
Maybe
I think.
I
Yeah.
like read a headline and was like, because of that YouTube, I guess it kind of like cemented something or sparked it. Yeah.
I can understand
I
that.
could be making some shit up.
Yeah.
We could take that out.
Or it could
We're not
be
taking
like,
shit out.
Or it could be like media just hijacking a random soundbite to make it sexy.
True.
Like, you know what, like Simu, it's like, oh, that one tweet that I'm like,
Right,
this
no, he's been acting
motherfucker
forever.
auditioned 7,000 times in 2017. He told me like he had to like do these crazy backflips and still
was-
like, I'm like, it's not a tweet that got
Yeah.
him, you know.
It never is the big break.
Yeah,
it never is that.
it's-
It's literally anyone that has like made it successful in anything takes minimum 10 years.
But we all like that narrative. It's the
It's
American
sexy.
Idol narrative, right? Where it's just like you just go on a show and you win and you become Kelly Clarkson.
Don't say Kelly Clarkson. I was hoping you would not say fucking Kelly
She's the
Clarkson.
only
hates
one
her
that I
guts.
know. Who's another one? Carrie Underwood? Is that another one?
No, I think she's been in the, or maybe, don't know. I don't
I
know.
literally don't know another
I don't
one.
hate Kelly Clarkson. I just can't deal with her voice. I'm sure she's a sweet lady.
She's an amazing singer.
She's an amazing singer, but I just can't. I
just can't.
Every fucking Christmas song that Kelly Clarkson is in, I'm like, let's change the fucking channel. And I love Christmas, but I'm like, Kelly Clarkson, why?
But she's an amazing singer.
Anyway, on that note, Mari, I want to say thank you so much. This was such a cool conversation. I felt like I got so much closer to you. Like, you're just rad, dude. And
You're
like,
rad. Thank
and
you.
like, you got to give yourself more credit. Like, but if you don't, it's all good. We'll give it to you.
Whatever
you know?
drives
The
you too.
imposter syndrome is heavy, guys.
Absolutely, man. But I love what you've done for chicks. Like, I look at you and I'm so glad that you're in this space and you continue to enter into different spaces because we need more chicks like you, dude. Like, you don't see your physical exterior or your background, whether that's your ethnicity or any of that, as a crutch, and you're always just like, well, I just want to move whatever's in here, and like, I'm just gonna keep moving forward, and I fucking love that. So keep doing you, dude.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This
Yeah.
was a delight.
Yay! Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.